Good evening, everybody out there. We are about to begin our public conference meeting here at Harrison Conference Room at 6 p.m. on February 7th, 2022, via live stream, and the link below and for those in attendance. The Board of Education meeting will be streamed live. All community questions and comments will be welcome in person at the Harrison School Conference Room. The Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education public conference meeting is compliant with the Open Public Meeting Act and NJSA 10:4-6, which is also known as the Sunshine Law. Notices have been sent to the Progress, Caldwell, New Jersey, the Star Ledger, Newark, New Jersey, and Tap Into, West Essex. Notices have also been posted at the Board of Education Business Office at the Harrison School Building here on Gray Street, West Caldwell, and have been delivered to both clerks of the Borough of Caldwell and the Township of West Caldwell for posting. Brian, will you take the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Diambola.
Here.
Mr. Elko.
Here.
Ms. Getty.
Here.
Ms. Grasso.
Here.
Mr. Cipoletti.
Here.
There's 5 members present, no absences. We have a quorum.
Great. Can I ask that we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we will be entering public session. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss private session. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss personnel, negotiations, litigation, miscellaneous, and other business matters. The meeting has been advertised and is compliant with the Open Public Meeting Act and NJ 10:4-6, which is also known as the Sunshine Law. The matters discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required, and formal action pursuant to said discussion shall take place only at a meeting to which the public has been invited. The public meeting will resume at approximately 7 p.m. I have a motion to enter executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. The motion has been made by Ms. Grosso and seconded by Ms. Getty. Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education shall enter executive session at approximately 6:04 p.m. Brian, can you take a quick roll?
Sure. All in favor, ayes?
Aye.
Against, nays? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Great. Thank you. See you all at 7. Good evening, everybody. We just finished our private session, our first private session of today. Can I have a motion to enter public session?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Grosso and seconded by Ms. Getty. Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education shall return to open session at approximately 7:02 p.m. Brian, can I ask you to take a vote?
Yes, all in favor, ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, any communications?
None.
Great. Dr. Conklin, the superintendent report.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce two students from Grover Cleveland Middle School who are going to give us an update. I have Mia Alcazar and Alana Merritt. So I'm sorry, I'm trying not to yell because it gets picked up really loud on the microphone. We're going to hopefully have microphones next week that go to the back of the room. We don't have them yet because there's a little feedback, so we're ordering those. So if we yell too loud into the microphone, it sounds like we're yelling at each other on YouTube. So I'm trying not to project my voice too much. So I apologize if you can't hear me in the back. So we have Mia Alcazar and Alana Merritt.
Good evening, Dr. Conklin and board members. Hi, my name is Alana Merritt.
And I'm Mia Alcazar.
We are the House leaders for the House of Integrity. Tonight we'll be discussing current events at our school and our recent House events. To start, we are currently collecting non-perishable food items to donate to the Caldwell Food Pantry for our school Super Bowl. Every 6 items earns your homeroom a ticket for a chance to win a bagel breakfast for your entire homeroom. Also, we are doing Valentine's Day love poems, which are to show gratitude and love towards things you enjoy. Each submission earns 10 house points towards your house. Additionally, our past house days have been a great success. There has been high amounts of participation, and the games are seeming to be more fun and all-inclusive.
We think the cycle classes are beneficial for all students. In my cycle class, I have recently finished learning the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and Service Leadership with Mr. Gattano. In Service Leadership, we have to complete 6 hours of community service. Service Leadership teaches the importance of living out our school motto, Make a Difference. One of the many projects and activities done for 7 Habits was for Habit 6. Habit 6 rule is to synergize. The class gathered into two or three groups to create a freestanding structure consisting of 2 marshmallows, uncooked spaghetti, a ribbon, and tape. It forced the groups to work together and communicate, whereas Alana is learning laws and information on copyright, advertising, and how to be a good digital citizen and media literacy with Ms. McGregor. They worked on many group projects and did many near-pods.
Finally, we are very proud of the progress the House leaders have made so far this year and hope to continue in the upcoming events in the near future.
Thank you, Dr. Conklin and the entire board for allowing us to speak.
Very well done, girls. Very well done.
Well, President, we have a recognition for an Eagle Scout.
Great.
Would you like to read that?
Yes. Is Tyler here? Tyler, I'm going to read the resolution, and then we'd love to hear what project you had, okay?
Yeah, so I had the ability to go to one of the camps too. I've been to as a kid, Camp Johnsonburg and Retreat Center. I've been there since I was pretty young, went for a few years. They have playgrounds and stuff there for kids that are sort of my age where we can kind of just climb around whatever, but they never had anything significant for the younger age group. So I took me and a group of a few people, and we went up and cleared out a decent-sized island of wooded, poison ivy-filled, wonderful mess of woods. We were able to build a little playground for kids ages 5 to 10 in there, which I have heard over summer was being used extensively. It's planned to be used this year. They've already used it on the off season. I did check up on it. It's still in great condition. So basically, I'm allowing 5 to 10-year-olds to kind of go to the camp, and it's been said that they're having more show up because it's sort of like they're now catering to a younger age as well. So I was able to help out the camp that I've been to, and now they're starting at an even younger age, and I give them something more to do.
Good for you. Awesome. Good for you. Here, let me read the resolution, and then we'll love to take a photo or so with you, okay?
Sounds good.
It is the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education resolution honoring Tyler O'May. Whereas Tyler O'May has earned the rank of Eagle Scout, Scouting's highest award, And whereas Tyler Maine has demonstrated individuality in designing and providing the leadership to complete the service project necessary to attain Eagle Scout status. And whereas the Eagle Scout Challenge embodies the highest ideals of honor, loyalty, courage, leadership, and service embraced by the Caldwell-West Caldwell Public Schools. And whereas Tyler Maine has exemplified these ideals as a student and member of our community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education takes great pride in recognizing and commending Tyler Maine for his achievements this 7th day of February 2022. Thank you very much. We're going to take 2 minutes for photos, okay?
Yes.
We're going to frame it and get it to the student members.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Conklin?
I'm going to pass it off to Mr. McCarthy here to discuss the auditor's presentation on February 14th.
All right, so we're going to have, next week we'll have our auditing firm, Ms. Avokia, make a presentation on our FY21 audit, which just completed, and good report. So they'll be here next week at the first part of the meeting.
Great.
Thank you, Mr.
Awesome,
McCarthy.
thank you.
I also wanted to go over quickly the collaborative problem-solving opportunity that we had with teachers. The teachers have been sharing several concerns, including pacing, flexibility, and planning time. And after a few meetings with the teachers at the building level, at the district level, we've made several adjustments based on their feedback. Grade level teaching teams will be meeting to discuss the next steps regarding the math assessments this week, actually this Wednesday. Principals will be working with the elementary teachers to coordinate any additional release time needed for the additional planning. Clarification was provided around pacing guides to ensure that teachers have the flexibility to meet students' needs while still addressing grade level standards. We're providing ongoing supports as well. We are exploring additional paid summer professional development opportunities for teachers, and we are arranging for curriculum writing and pacing guide updates. Principals will be discussing this more with teachers in the coming weeks. I'd like to thank the teachers, the administrators, and especially the board members who came together to collaborate and find some student-focused solutions for the concerns that the teachers have brought. Ms. Callahan, I don't know if you want to come up and interject to the meetings we've been having. That would be helpful.
Thank you. Sue Callahan, President of the Teachers Association. I do want to thank the board and the administration for opening up more avenues of communication than we'd seen earlier this year, and I think that they have been fruitful. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic, but I think that the need to keep the teachers involved in the process is something that we all need to be working for. I want to thank the public and the parents for your support, every teacher that you thanked, has been truly appreciative of that support. And all the teachers, I want to thank you for standing up for your students and giving, providing them with the best education and calling attention to problems that exist. So I want to thank everybody, and I hope that we can continue to work together to try to work things out. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Conklin, and thank you, Ms. Callahan. For the President's report, I just wanted to read a quick statement related to the announcement from Governor Murphy this afternoon. So this afternoon, during his weekly COVID update, Governor Murphy explained that the universal statewide mask mandate for school and childhood settings will be lifted effective March 7th of 2022. The Caldwell-West Caldwell Public Schools will comply with this March 7th mask optional guidance provided by the governor. When it is released, the district will review and update guidance for the New Jersey Department of Health, and the administration will work with representatives from the New Jersey Department of Education, the local health divisions and departments, the school physicians, and the school nurses to review and revise the current mitigation strategies, procedures, and policies. So hopefully everybody has heard or has read some of the press releases of that conversations today from the governor. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to go into approval of minutes. Approval of the reorganization meeting minutes and executive session minutes of January 10th, 2022, and the regular public monthly meeting minutes and executive session minutes of January 18th, 2022.
That's it.
And that'll actually be next week, correct?
Next week, yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. And we do have committee reports to report out on. We actually have 3 committee reports today. So the first one we're going to hear from is from curriculum.
Great. Curriculum and technology, the attendees at our meeting on February 1st, 2022 at 3:15 p.m. via Google Meet were Mr. D'Ambola, myself, Julianne Grosso, Elizabeth Fisher, Alina Jacobs, Caitlin Jones, and Dr. Christopher Conklin. We discussed state testing. Administrators have begun preparing to administer the NJSLA and New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment tests. More information will be coming home to parents as schedules are finalized, but the range for test administration is as follows. March 14th to 18th will be NJGPA, again the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment for grade 11. April 25th through June 3rd will be the NJSLA ELA and Math for grades 3 through 9, and the NJSLA Science for grades 5, 8, and 11. Again, more details will be coming home from the school administrators. Community Connection Speaker Series, the dates are in the secondary and elementary newsletters. They'll also be posted to the website. The speaker series includes speakers such as Marcy Wolf-Ober, who will be this, I believe it's the 10th, not sure what day of the week that is, the Wednesday I think it is, supporting your child with anxiety. The New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education, NJCIE. There's a bunch of dates for that, including speakers on the 17th about inclusive mindsets. And then teacher, leaders, and directors of elementary education will do a Families as Reading Partners workshop on March 23rd, and Families as Math Partners on March 31st. Again, all those dates are in the newsletters that go home and will also be posted to the website. Smart Support. GCMS Varsity Tutoring launched this month at the middle school. James Caldwell High School will begin adding supports for our English language learners and our 9th grade math students who are in need of academic intervention. Planning is already underway for our Smart Summer Academy for rising 3rd through 6th graders who need academic support. And as part of our ongoing support for students transitioning from elementary to middle school, we are going to be launching a summer experiential learning program for current 5th graders, okay? The mission of this program is to cultivate thinking and social skills through experiential learning within a supportive space that nurtures creativity, confidence, collaboration, and innovation. The program will take place August 12th to the 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the middle school. Teachers will nominate rising 6th graders based on their needs, and families will be notified this month. Currently, we plan to welcome about 5 students per elementary school who teachers feel will benefit from this unique program. Students who are eligible for the academic summer program will be notified next month, and more information will continue to be shared in the upcoming weeks. Board of Education presentations for anyone. We've had like quite a big crowd these past couple of meetings. But next Monday, the 14th, the district will give an update on our district goals 1 through 4, give us some mid-year academic goal progress, and then an important mark your calendars for parents. On March 7th, the principals will be presenting a mid-year academic goal progress for each of their buildings. Okay? Materials for ELA classrooms in response to teacher requests. We are ordering additional materials such as guided reading books to continue to help support our teachers. ESL 3-year plan was submitted to the state as is required by the district by the NJDOE, and that will conclude the curriculum and technology update.
Thank you, Ms. Grosso. And I do highly encourage everybody to come if you're available next week for Valentine's Day to spend it with us, but more importantly to see the status against the goals 1 through 4, and then the first meeting of March for the principal presentation. I think it'll be very informative. Okay, for a second report, let's go with finance.
There you go. And I would suggest, if for whatever reason you're busy on February 14th, these meetings are recorded, so you can always come back to it on February 15th if you'd like to see exactly what was said and what was presented at that time.
You're not busy on the 14th, are you, Chris?
I got nothing better to do, man. Sorry, Aaron. So the Finance and Facilities Committee minutes, or committee meeting, took place on February 3rd. President was myself, Paula Getty, Dr. Conklin, Caitlin Jones, and the Business Administrator, Brian McCarthy. So the first thing, Mr. McCarthy mentioned it already, every year the district has to do a full audit by a third party of our finances. That audit is complete. It's going to be a packed week next week. That we'll have a presentation available next week that the auditors are going to provide, the third party, and then the documentation is also available on the website thereafter for the audit of last year's finances. We also were very fortunate. The district was talking about funding championship rings for the football team, and we received a very generous donation from State Senator and former Governor Richard Cody, who has volunteered to cover the cost of the rings for the entire football team as a donation. So thank you to Senator Cody, and I'm sure we'll be having that. Yes, thank you, Senator Cody. And good for us, right? That's more money we can save for other projects. I wanted to talk very quickly about a couple things that the district's doing to save money. If you look in your agenda, it's like page 8, page 9, it's number 14. It's called refunding of bonds. It took Mr. McCarthy a little while to explain this to me because I didn't get it the first time. Basically, we have bonds that are outstanding from 2015, and what the district's going to be doing is essentially refinancing and saving potentially as much as $400,000 as a result of that process. So that's kind of laid out very clearly in chapter and verse in the agenda. So if you're interested in that, you can read up more on that. Also, we have a couple expenditures that we're going to be making that are coming out of our general budget, but the good news is that our general budget has kind of been expanded a little bit, again by work done by Mr. McCarthy and Dr. Conklin. Yeah. So I think this is every district, right, received what's called a state holiday for benefits for the month of February, meaning that we don't have to pay for the benefits, which means that money can be repurposed into other things for the kids, which we're going to be doing. And we also received aid above and beyond what we put in for, so we budgeted for a certain amount of aid for the state in a certain area, and the district actually received $500,000 above and beyond that amount. So these are significant amounts of money that we're now planning on trying to pump back into the schools to try to help the kids as best we can. One of those things is in furtherance of our one-to-one tech initiative, to make sure every student has their own device. We'll be purchasing 400 iPads for the students, and these are going to be going to elementary school students. I don't want to go too deep into this because I know next week's presentation is going to include much more in-depth discussion on how far we've come in 1 year on the one-to-one initiative, which my understanding is we've come quite a long way. But conceptually, the idea is every student should, in the very near future, have a device that is no more than 3 years old. So every student should have a device that's up to date and functioning and working that they can use when they're in school. We're also going to be upgrading cameras and door access in the schools, including full software upgrades. Specifically, for the middle school and the high school, there will be significant upgrades and additions. I used to go on all the IEQ walks with Sue when we would go through, and at the middle school, I heard a story about what they call the forbidden staircase, which is not as treacherous as it sounds, but it sounds like we're going to, and the reason why is there's not camera coverage, which makes it a little less safe than the stairwells that do have camera coverage. That stuff is going to be resolved with this upgrade. So we're going to be adding a lot more camera access to those different areas to make the schools a little bit safer, and also upgrading door access. That's locks, basically, is what you're doing. And we're also going to be upgrading a bunch of equipment for the nurses. That's been outstanding that they've had kind of out there asking for. That's all going to be done hopefully within the confines of this year's budget. And then we're also looking, going back to the IQ walks at the middle school, and I don't know if Julianne knows this, you'll be excited for this, at potentially a full renovation of the middle school auditorium. We're looking at it, it's under consideration, but that's something that the committee is beginning to examine carefully and see how far we can push that along. So I know a lot of folks have been concerned and worried about the arts and music, and that is a high priority for us. And you know, the district is backing it up. They're putting their money where their mouth is. And finally, we're looking to engage a third party to give us a very clear-eyed assessment of all of our facilities. We have some new schools. We have some schools that are like 100 years old, literally. So we're going to have somebody come in and really compare where the demographics are, where the people are, where the residences are, where our buildings are, and what we need, so we can come up with a very smart, intelligent, strategic plan for our facilities for the next 10 years. And that is the facilities report.
Thank you, Mr. Elko. And one more report we do have. If you guys recall, we created a new committee, the Community Relations Committee. They had their first meeting last week, actually with Sue and a series of teachers. So I'm going to ask Ms. Getty to read out the minutes for that.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, everybody. I hope I can get through this without fogging up. I haven't figured out the mask and the glasses piece yet. So we did meet. It was myself, Julianne Grasso, Dr. Conklin, Sue Callahan, Jennifer Emolio, Mara Lobato, and Anne Marie Mullen. We met on January the 24th. And the committee listened to the issues and the concerns that the teachers brought regarding the communication and collaboration, and the main concerns that centered around pacing, planning time, new programs, curriculum, materials, assessment protocols, substitutes, and current mitigation strategies. And the school-based culture and climate committees and the upcoming district elementary and secondary roundtable meetings will continue to address and provide space to identify those issues and problem solve those areas of concern. So I just wanted to take a moment and thank you all for coming, for attending. Thank you to Dr. Conklin and to Julianne for attending as well. We really appreciate the input. This is really about our students, and we thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Getty. And that's the conclusion of the committee reports. Now we're going to move into public comments. If you have any questions initially, let's do anything on the agenda, and then we'll go into anything off the agenda. But public comments on the agenda items at this stage, public participation shall be governed by the following. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of their name and address. Statements are to be limited to 3 minutes in duration and may only address items that are on the agenda at this time. Participants may speak no more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. And again, all items shall be directed to the presiding officer. So if there are any questions or comments on the agenda, please come up to the podium.
Hi, good evening. My name is Neer Samuel. I live at 9 Van Ness Place in West Caldwell. I want to thank the board, and I want to address a question first regarding the update that Dr. Conklin gave regarding some of the work that was done with the teachers. Mr. Cipoletti, I sent you an email last month asking for some clarification, and I want to thank you and Dr. Conklin for getting back to me so quickly. My question is, can we expect these types of updates on a regular basis? And if so, how much detail can you provide in those updates? I understand that some stuff is confidential and can't be shared, but I think as parents, it's important for us to know what's going on an ongoing basis. So that's my first question.
Specifically, we will continue to provide updates to the community and parents related to what's going on in the schools. Specifically, if there was a question about what we're doing to support teachers, we could answer those questions as well. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is the one I just gave. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. And then my final question is regarding the comment you made regarding the masking procedures going forward. If I'm to understand you correct, we're waiting on the official guidance to come out of the governor's office to decide exactly how everything will be governed going forward. But does that include things like, specifically for the kindergarten group, when they're able to leave class for specials or story times, play areas, things of that nature? Would that be included in all of that guidance, or are we still waiting on more details?
Yeah. I don't think that's it.
So what we're kind of waiting on is direction from the New Jersey Department of Health in terms of those things. However, we are closely examining, as we transition from red to orange to yellow and to green, what we can do to relax some of the other mitigation strategies that we kind of have in place. We recognize we may be in yellow for an extended period of time, so we're going to be talking with the school nurses this week and the next week about relaxing maybe some of the testing requirements, and then maybe relaxing some of the opportunities for students to actually go to the art room, go to the library. You know, we had this conversation. We're kind of at the finish line. We don't want to go too fast to the end. We kind of want to make sure we're making smart, measured decisions about making these changes. But now is when the conversation starts, so that way we can be ready in a few weeks, especially when we go into the yellow, which we hope is very soon. So that way we'll be able to then open up some of the things that we've been keeping restricted over the past several months.
Okay, that's fair. I do have another question regarding school closures, early dismissals, and late starts. I'm not sure if this is the right time to ask.
Before you go on, are there any other questions on the agenda? Yeah, you should stay right there just in case, but I just want to make sure anybody else, other people have an opportunity. If not, we can go on. No? Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Unless you want to go sit down and come back.
I'm going to preface this question by saying that I grew up in the Midwest, in the Chicagoland area, so my reaction to adverse winter weather events is a little different than most people who grew up in this area. I just would like to know, as a district that doesn't rely heavily on busing, what is the criteria for triggering a decision for either a shutdown, an early dismissal, or a late start? As a family that has two working parents, obviously any one of those decisions has an impact to us. We understand that safety has to be taken into account. We just want to know what is the guidance to making that decision, and how soon before that decision takes effect you have to make it.
We try to make that decision in the evening, knowing that parents have a lot to plan for. We don't always make the right decisions, as you can see by a few weeks ago when it wasn't supposed to be ice and things were supposed to be cleared and they weren't. And in this situation that just passed, we probably didn't need a early dismissal, but you never know what those situations are. It's funny, when I look back on my interview with the board, they asked me what was my biggest concern, and I said, making the decision about calling a snow day, because you never know what the weather's going to do, and it's always concerning. But we actually do have several buses, so we always have to take that in consideration. And Caldwell-West Caldwell is a very hilly, so there's a lot of opportunities for ice to form or slipping to happen. But we do communicate with the local DEP, the police department, and then we rely on the state to do their job in clearing the highways. We have a lot of teachers that travel a long way to get here as well, so we have to take them into consideration. So all those things go into consideration, and we try to make the decision the night before, knowing that it's sometimes challenging to get babysitting. So we typically will do that by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock the latest. The only situation is when we have something that's unexpected, then we try to let parents know by 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, so that way they just have opportunities to plan. So I hope that answers your question.
Good enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
But I want to reiterate on that, Mr. Samuel, that there is a lot of communication that does happen with the DEPs of both Caldwell and West Caldwell.
And the police
Understood.
department.
Yeah, we rely on them to tell us if the roads are
and
clear.
police departments.
Yeah.
Because we can have the schools cleared, and I have to say the custodians here do an awesome job of that. But if the roads coming up or the sidewalks coming up to those schools aren't cleared, it's really hard for us to allow parents to kind of get to school.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I close out on questions on the agenda, does anybody have anything they would want to bring up? Okay. If not, we're going to move to public comments on anything outside of the agenda. Again, public participation shall be governed by the following. Please do come up, and you must be recognized by your presiding officer and must preface your comments by the announcement of your name and address. All items or statements should be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Speak no more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard, and all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. So if there are any other questions or comments, please feel free to come up to them.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Dana Hunkley. I live at 23 Leacroft Lane in Caldwell. I would like to begin by saying that I am deeply sorry that I even have to be here covering this topic tonight, particularly because it seems to be a positive evening. But if you thought that I was going to go away quietly without addressing this matter, you were wrong. I am unfortunately here to publicly express my disappointment in the decision to show our middle and high schoolers the vaccination presentation shown on December 20th and 21st. While I told myself that the original intent was good, the fact that after such concern was raised, we moved forward so quickly tainted that thought altogether. Many parents of both vaccinated and unvaccinated children who are here, some of which who are here, agree that presenting this displayed the complete opposite of inclusion in our schools and was in fact a gross overstep on the school board's behalf. It is our belief that the extremely one-sided and in some instances non-factual presentation was intended to instigate a confrontational conversation between minors and their parents. Minors are not equipped to and do not make their own medical decisions. We, as their parents, do. And presenting this information to parents for the sake of education is one thing, but this was completely another. This presentation did not take place in a health class in the appropriate grade while discussing advancements in medicine. It was a one-off sales pitch, and it was not your place to begin. This topic is one of the most polarizing and controversial of our time. It raises questions about private information and should not have taken place at all, let alone the week prior to Christmas and the Monday after we needed to talk to our children about potentially being involved in a mass shooting. On December 18th, after gathering myself from a morning of such sadness and anger after viewing the presentation, I took the time to send a 3-page email to every person sitting in front of me, except Mr. McCarthy. In this email, I asked you to be forthright in answering this one question. What are you hoping to gain out of presenting this? I embarrassingly never received a response to my email until I sent a follow-up 16 days later on January 3rd. In Dr. Conklin's email reply on January 4th, I still had not received an answer to that question, and I stand here today without one still. The email I sent on December 18th had 2 main areas of concern. First, the fact that the showing of the presentation was completely a hidden agenda item prior to the public coming to this meeting on December 13th. And second, the presentation itself. My concerns today, however, are even greater. Those concerns include the lack of self-awareness, leadership, and accountability that Dr. Conklin has exhibited pertaining to this matter. I had the pleasure of interviewing both superintendent finalists last year, and quite frankly, the person who I thought I was recommending for hire is not the person who responded to me on January 4th. The person who I thought we hired had strong convictions, but was able to hear other people's points of view. He held himself accountable and admitted his shortcomings. He was inclusive, and while he spoke his mind, he was not off-putting. And I would like to add that that person was actually sitting here tonight. I was so relieved to hear some of the responses that I did. So that's a little off topic here, but. Although some people would like to say on social media that we, as parents who take issue with this, are starting trouble in our community, and that we were given ample time to preview the presentation and to voice our concerns, I would like to respectfully disagree and to add that we did express our concerns and we were blatantly ignored. Dr. Conklin never responded to anyone, and in fact, he passed the buck to his principals, who were given a canned response to send to parents expressing concern. On January 4th, the email reply I received from Dr. Conklin apologized to me for not responding sooner. I'd like to note that on all other occasions, Dr. Conklin has returned a call or an email from me within at least 1 day, and on several occasions within 20 minutes. I find it more than a coincidence that on this particular occasion, he had no response until 17 days later, after I followed up with him and after the presentation was shown. He admits in this email that it is the responsibility of the superintendent, who acts as the district CEO, to operate the district on a day-to-day basis. It is because of this point exactly why I am directing most of my commentary towards him himself. He goes on to highlight the district's responsibility in making schools accessible and safe for all students, while including a completely irrelevant schedule of immunizations for me to review, in an effort to highlight the district's recognition that both the CDC and the AAP have reinforced the need for making informed decisions about all vaccinations, not just the COVID-19 vaccination. Making an informed decision regarding vaccination pertains to a parent, not a minor. Hence why all minors under the age of 18 are required to have a legal guardian making those decisions either for or with them as they age. I do believe it is your responsibility to make sure all children also feel included and not singled out. How many things are we not allowed to say in school now because a child might not feel included? Everyone here might be interested to know that we as parents were told that if we were uncomfortable with our children viewing the video, they could be sent to the auditorium until it was over. Can you even imagine a teacher saying, okay class, we're going to talk about vaccines now. Jenny, your mom doesn't want you to hear about this, so get your things, go to the auditorium, and we'll get you when we're done, okay? The fact that that was even an option is deplorable. Interestingly, the high school parents were given an opt-out option, yet the middle schoolers, some of whom are 11 years old, were not. I asked how the decision was made to present this video to our children. Dr. Conklin stated that the district took Ms. Betty Sullivan up on her offer to do a presentation to help inform our students and families about the importance and the efficacy of vaccines, including the COVID-19 vaccine. This is what I saw take place. I saw someone question the number of cases in the district rising in the December 6th meeting, and Dr. Conklin following up with, we had 57 positive cases in the first 3 months of school and 56 positive cases in the past 2 weeks. And with that, we decided to show this presentation to all of you and your kids. So cases were rising, and it seems to me that the decision was made by the CEO of our schools to show this video to our kids. Because no one has answered what the intent was in showing them this video, I must assume that you wanted our children to fear getting COVID, that you wanted them to come home and to try to guilt us into vaccinating them for the greater good of the world so that the numbers would come down, and that is not okay. Next, Dr. Conklin made reference to partnering with families and the community by previewing that presentation at the December 13th meeting, noting it was not part of the board agenda, but part of the superintendent's report. The fact remains it was a hidden agenda item, and I say this because on every single Board of Ed meeting agenda, from September 13th until December 6th, there was at least one line item listed under the superintendent's report on the agenda, again, published prior to the meeting. Only on December 13th was there not. Omitting this crucial piece of an agenda illustrates the lack of effort on your part to quote unquote partner with families in the community, and quite frankly caused you to also not rally supporters of your cause. If getting this crucial information out to us as parents was so important to the cause, why was it not listed, and why did you not send the final presentation out to all GCMS and high school parents? Not actually giving the community the opportunity to ask questions is downright unacceptable. We have an issue here. Either we don't know how to partner with the people to be effective, or we simply chose not to. You informed me that the presentations took place during homeroom at the middle school and during the second block at the high school. Actually, at the middle school, they took place during homeroom and the entire first period of school, which parents were absolutely not told. Our kids are already very behind. Perhaps we should keep them on task and not show them biased information when they're supposed to be learning actual core standards. Now let's get into the presentation. You stated, and I quote, "In regards to the presentation, I suggest that you contact Ms. Sullivan, as it would be improper for me to discuss her intentions, thoughts, or the efficacy of her assertions within the presentation," end quote. This part could be one of the most concerning points for me, aside from the misinformation in the presentation itself. This statement to me speaks of your character. You accept no responsibility for the presentation's content, although you are self-admittedly the acting CEO of the school district. You viewed the presentation and single-handedly made the decision to show it and then pass the buck entirely while running Betty Sullivan over with a proverbial bus. You do go on to try to support her slightly by stating she did make several changes to the presentation and explain that the presentation to the community at the board meeting was geared towards the audience of this meeting and not intended for middle school or high school students. I have watched that December 13th board meeting painstakingly, more than 12 times. And while Dr. Conklin refers to some anticipated changes to the presentation, no one, including Ms. Sullivan, says that this is not for the children. Ms. Sullivan actually makes references during her presentation saying that this is in there for the kids. Additionally, if this presentation was not intended to be shown to our kids, why would both your middle school and high school principals send an email directing parents to watch said video? Why not be absolutely transparent and send out the actual video that was going to be shown? I believe I am one of the only parents in this district to see the actual final version of the presentation. It was shockingly like your prototype, with a few noticeable differences. In my original email on December 18th, I called out 7 issues pertaining to the content. 6 of those 7 issues were missing or altered from the final presentation, thankfully. For everyone's reference here, the grotesque image of a child covered in smallpox was removed. A slide mocking people for not getting vaccinated in fear that they would be tracked by the government was removed. The slide where she tries to influence our children to ask to be vaccinated for convenience purposes was removed. The slide on drug development was altered, although she forgets to include the extreme differences between a normal vaccine development process and one under emergency use authorization. She made the decision to remove the part when she tells kids you can't get sick if you're vaccinated, but then she decides to leave in that you can't get others sick if you're vaccinated, which is completely untrue and not at all scientifically based. I could go on, but I think this is enough to make my point. If you had responded to me, told me that you read my concerns, felt badly that we didn't see eye to eye, but then informed me that you were still going to show the video because you believed it was the best thing to do for our kids, I would have respected that. But you didn't. You ignored me. And you ignored everyone else. And I find it so disrespectful. Dr. Conklin, in January of 2021, I asked you what 3 words your subordinates would use to describe you. And you said thoughtful, dedicated, and progressive. I asked you what your family would say. And you replied caring, a good listener, and thoughtful. Finally, I asked what your colleagues would say. And you chose a resource, thoughtful and progressive. I found myself hanging on your words, wanting you to talk more. I was excited to hopefully see you in action because, and I quote, as I wrote to Dan Cipoletti, I believe our children deserve his leadership and expertise. The decision to show this video to our children, the manner in which you went about it, and your blatant lack of response and leadership was so utterly disappointing. I am hoping that the person I thought we hired comes back quickly and that he begins to partner with his administration, his teachers, and his parent constituency. Until then, though, I am stating for the record that this whole situation did not go unnoticed by me or by other parents, and other things will not in the future either. Thank you all for your time, and you all know where I can be reached if any follow-up is needed.
Any other comments or questions?
Kristen Kaufman, Washington and Lincoln Schools. I would like to introduce myself to the board and the community. I've been teaching in the Caldwell-West Caldwell school system for almost half of my life. I'm an artist and I'm an educator. I'm fortunate enough to share my passion with the students of this community. Every day, I'm grateful for the position that I have within the school district and the opportunities that come along with this role. I've taught in all 4 elementary schools, as well as Grover Cleveland Middle School. When I started teaching in 2003, I felt the love and the support for arts. I took an aesthetics class in Juilliard and actually brought the dancers back to Washington School for the 5th grade students to enjoy. I took a creative development class in Aix-en-Provence that was funded by this district. I was also reimbursed 100% for my Master's of Arts degree from New Jersey City University. I am a specialist. For many of my students, I'm the most exciting part of their week. Oftentimes, when I come into the classrooms, I get a standing ovation. I've mastered my bow and my curtsy.
Specialists are different from the core curriculum classroom teachers. We have different protocols and expectations. Our classes are run quite differently. The elementary specialists see students only once a week for a very short period of time, and we find our homes to be in multiple buildings. This evening, I'm here to share the effects that this pandemic is having on the delivery of instruction for physical education, music, media, world language, and art. As elementary specialists, we face many unique challenges as we try to keep our students engaged and motivated. Last year, the elementary specialists were remote until April 15th. We were teaching students at home on a computer through a Google Meet for over 8 months in the 2021 school year. During this time, we were never even given our own online communication portal or Seesaw account. And still today, 2022, we have remote students and do not have communication with them. If we want to communicate with remote students and parents, we have to go through the classroom teachers. This adds just an extra task onto their plate. Please address this. Most recently, due to the shortage of substitutes, we have been asked to give up our scheduled classes to cover absences for classroom teachers. This past month, a specialist had to write subplans for her class because she was covering a classroom teacher. This is so confusing for our students, and it makes us feel very undervalued. We recently lost a significant amount of elementary music staff because of overscheduling. Currently, students are in the middle of a school year and have to adjust to new vocal and instrumental teachers. The principals are making more schedules mid-year to accommodate new teachers. By law, New Jersey State mandates 150 minutes of health and physical education per week. We have been made aware of the fact that a third physical education teacher was hired for elementary, so thank you for that. We've been asking for years. However, we have not been told what schools this additional person is going to be assigned to and what impact this will have on our schedules mid-year. Currently, each kindergarten to 5th grade class has physical education once a week for 40 minutes. In the past years, classroom teachers would have flexibility in their schedules to take their students out for extra recess time. Now, with the rigorous scheduling demands and having each and every second in the day accounted for, students are missing out on this time. This time they would enjoy social interaction with their peers and organized physical activity. In September, physical education took place outside. Currently, the students are coming into the auditoriums to take physical education with limited materials. As of now, students are able to check out books from the elementary libraries, but are not able to have classes inside of these media centers. Media specialists are teaching lessons inside of student classrooms, and then halfway through bringing the students into the media centers to take out books. It's interrupting the flow of the class. The media specialists have been social studies and science teachers. They've covered leaves for classroom teachers, and now once again, they're being asked to take on additional roles, such as reading interventionists with no proper training. The students are seeing less and less of the specialists. We lost an incredible elementary art teacher last year because she was told she'd be conducting art on a cart. 3 of the 4 elementary art rooms are currently vacant, and art classes are taking place in the classrooms. When I first started teaching at Washington School in 2003, I was on a cart. The art room was used for a 1st grade classroom. However, when I would enter the classrooms, I would group the children together. I would have them switch seats. We'd move to our art seats to give them a change of scenery. At this time, students were allowed to share materials and work in groups. So I would bring enough materials for about 6 groups. With COVID, I'm lugging materials for 24 plus students into every single classroom. It's very strenuous and very time consuming. This arrangement has also been happening with music and media instruction. Visualize our music teachers hauling large keyboards from room to room along with the music books. Young students are being asked to stay at their own desk for almost the entire day. Transitioning from a class to a special used to allow for movement breaks with students walking in the hallways and going to their specialist classrooms. These young children have no idea how to walk quietly in a line through the hallway because we're not allowing them this opportunity. These students don't know anything about the school community. They don't know the layouts of the building. They're not able to leave their areas. Sad. Classroom teachers are also impacted. They have nowhere to go during their special. And they cannot set up for their lessons with the specialists and the students using their space. Many of the specialist materials, content, as well as the curriculum are being modified. Again, this is because students are not receiving the same programs they were in the past. Media specialists, music teachers, world language teachers, and art teachers are dragging boxes and boxes of materials up and down the staircases, in and out of classrooms, at multiple buildings. There are times in our schedules where one class ends and another starts at the same second, and probably in a different end of the building or a different floor. So carts are not an option for us because if you've obviously seen the elementary buildings, there's many levels, there's lots of stairs, there's no elevator. With art, several minutes of instruction are lost, setting up in someone else's space and then cleaning up before you leave for the lesson. Something has to give. We knew in September that we were going to conduct specials in the classrooms. We understood and we were very flexible, even though we felt like it wasn't the best arrangement. We were told that after 1 month, that idea would be revisited. It's 6 months later. Now we're waiting for the county to move to the COVID Cali level into green in order to return to our space and conduct lessons where we can deliver the best instruction. However, middle school, high school, they're all changing classes 7 or more times a day, and our elementary students are perfectly capable of sanitizing their hands, wiping down surfaces, and even traveling with their own supplies if that's what it will take. Young students are rule followers, and they're creatures of habit. They sanitize their hands when they leave and enter their classroom. Please, let us deliver the best instruction possible and have our students experience their specials in the setting that they look forward to each week. And I just want to conclude by saying, of the 20 school districts in Essex County, 17 districts with designated rooms are conducting all specials, including art, music, library media, physical education in the specialist classroom. 1 district is having every special except for art because of these COVID restrictions. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions or comments?
Hi, I'm Dana Spina. I'm from GCMS. I have been fortunate enough to work in Caldwell-West Caldwell for the last 16 years. First, as an inclusion resource teacher at JCHS in the English department, and as a 6th grade ELA teacher for the past 15 years. I was also a West Caldwell resident for a number of years where I was proud to call Johnson Avenue my home. I have always considered myself lucky to work in Caldwell, specifically at GCMS, as it was a place where I have always had the freedom to explore new ways of teaching and learning with the overwhelming support of administration. I was trusted as a professional to make pedagogical decisions based on what I thought was best for students, and received training and professional development when needed. However, I'm here today out of concern. Over the past few years, I have seen a shift in the culture that has made working in Caldwell so rewarding. The collegial atmosphere that fostered a spirit of collaboration has slowly transformed into directives without direction, with little teacher input, confusing messages, and thoughtless planning and execution, and finally, an overwhelming emphasis on data, and it is hurting our students. Prior to the pandemic, the 6th grade ELA team worked tirelessly for 5 years in tandem with our reading consultant, Maggie Roberts, to carefully infuse a balance of reading and writing instruction into our curriculum. Our team rose to the challenge of planning lessons that would provide students with strategies that would help them become better readers and writers, all while fostering a love of reading and writing with carefully selected high-interest texts and purposeful activities. However, this curriculum has been derailed by the sudden introduction of running records and guided reading, which sixth grade teachers knew little to nothing about until the end of September of this year. The entire process so far has been a prime example of what I have referred to as directives without direction, and has impacted not only ELA on the sixth grade level, but all of the sixth grade in the following ways. At the end of September, sixth grade teachers in all subject areas, building administrators, and guidance counselors were informed that they would be required to perform running records, an evaluation tool that would determine students' reading levels. We were given 2 45-minute training sessions, despite the fact that the majority of us do not have backgrounds in ELA. During one of the training sessions, an ELA teacher asked what the impact would be on our curriculum. The teacher was told that there would not be any impact to our curriculum as running records was being used for data collection. This was not the case. We were not told the impact this would have on our curriculum, nor the rationale for guided reading until a department meeting later on. At the end of October, Central Administration sat in on ELA classes and asked why we had not yet implemented guided reading, even though there had been no introduction to the program, training to prepare, time to plan, or even mention of where materials would be or what the materials were to implement this program. Now aware that we were to implement a program we knew nothing about previously, the sixth grade ELA team asked for the support to prepare, yet were met with obstacles in the following ways. We asked to observe a school that used guided reading model so that we could see how the program worked with middle school students and a middle school schedule, which is quite different than the elementary schedule. This request was denied by Central Administration. We asked for training from a colleague who had implemented the program during the previous summer with elementary students. As a result, we received 45-minute informational session about guided reading and were only able to observe one 15-minute guided reading lesson. We asked for one release day, a day out of the classroom, in order to prepare students a day out of the classroom in order to separate students into reading groups, acquaint ourselves with the materials, plan lessons, and figure out how to fit this into our already jam-packed curriculum. Only after repeated requests from Central Administration were denied, our principal was able to secure us one day out of the classroom to learn an entire year's worth of a reading program. While presented with challenges in the planning stages, it didn't stop there. During the implementation of this program, we continued to experience difficulties with materials, mixed messages, and challenges brought about by time and the fact that the pandemic is still ongoing. For example, although expected to implement guided reading right away, we did not have the materials to implement guided reading for our struggling readers. As a result, we needed to borrow these materials from the elementary schools. The guided reading books for our below grade level students did not arrive until last month. Since November, we have received correspondences via email at different times from Central Administration and literacy coaches with changes about who should do guided reading and who should not. Additional information about guided reading, which would have been useful in September, as well as errors in running records word counts that could have potentially had a direct impact on placing students at the correct reading levels. It seems as though there is no clear plan in place, yet we are expected to follow along. Time has also presented a challenge in terms of lessons and in terms of the pandemic. A quality guided reading lesson at the middle school level takes about 30 minutes. We only have 45-minute class periods to teach both reading and writing. Furthermore, social distancing guidelines dictate that students should not be within 3 feet of each other for more than 15 minutes. Again, guided reading takes 30. Last week, during running records testing, I alone tested 2 students who were quarantined the very next day because they were in close contact with someone who tested positive for COVID. Most importantly, I need to address the impact that guided reading has had on our students. Philosophically, the middle school has prided itself on helping students find their love of reading. Through book clubs and high interest texts, we have shown them how themes and topics covered connect to their lives. Now the pace of our curriculum has slowed significantly because of the interruptions presented by guided reading. We are moving at about the same pace as last year when we were hybrid and attending school half day. Kids will ask, are we reading our class novel today? And on guided reading days, we are met with frustrated groans when they hear it's a day to work in small groups. Furthermore, separating students into groups by reading level is a dangerous practice in middle school, as it threatens adolescents' already fragile developing sense of self. My fear is that in trying to remediate their struggles, we are inadvertently magnifying them, which could have disastrous results. Overall, academically and socially, these poorly implemented changes could reverberate throughout students' middle school years and into high school as well. Finally, the emphasis on guided reading has impacted the ways in which we have traditionally helped our struggling students. In the past, the academic support program has helped struggling students in both math and ELA in grades 6 through 8, with each grade level meeting once a week in the morning. From October to June, this program, which was run by Mrs. Lobato, who taught academic support math for the last 20 years, and I, who taught this program for the past 6 years, have met with students at each grade level once a week to complete missing assignments, reinforce concepts in class, and pre-teach concepts to help students become more successful in the classroom. For 8 months of instruction for 3 grade levels and 2 subjects, students received the help that they needed at a cost of $7,000 combined for the 2 of us to the district. This year, the academic support program was completely restructured so that it did not address how to help students succeed with their work directly in the classroom, but instead aligned instruction with Linkit and guided reading. When the majority of teachers did not feel as though this program was helpful and did not sign up to teach, an outside tutoring program, Varsity Tutors, was called. As a result, the academic support program was completely dismantled in favor of the SMART program, which delivers virtual instruction only in ELA, only for 6th grade, and only in guided reading. 1 grade level and 1 subject area of virtual instruction is now costing the district $21,000. And this does not even include the cost of teacher supervisors to monitor the students. I would like to make it clear that I am not here because I am resistant to change. After 16 years, I have seen many educational trends come and go, and my 6th grade team has risen to the challenge every time. In fact, no one understands change better than teachers at this moment. Since March 2020, our job demands have changed constantly. These days, it changes daily, and we adapt. No one understands change more than we do at GCMS. Over the course of 4 years, we have lost 2 very important people with devastating effects. First, we lost our secretary, Lynn Ely, and then our principal, Jim Brown. Following both of their losses, we came together on our own. We adapted. We worked long hours beyond contract and job descriptions. We did this for our students. We did this to hold our school together, And we did it when many of us were falling apart inside. This district has buildings full of teachers who are willing to go above and beyond for their students in order to make their educational experience the best that it can be, no matter what the circumstances. So to address this statement made last month, this is Caldwell-West Caldwell, we need to do better, you're absolutely right. This is exactly what we're asking for our kids. We do not fear what is new. We certainly do not fear hard work, nor are we resistant to change. We have had to cope with unfathomable change. We understand what is at stake because we have them sitting in our classrooms each and every day. As a result, we are asking for leadership that is inspired, initiatives that are purposefully planned, and programs that show a genuine consideration for students in each seat in our classrooms, not numbers on a spreadsheet. We don't want directives, we want direction. And now more than ever, we want a voice in how to make this better for our kids, because this is Caldwell-West Caldwell, and they deserve only the best from us. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Just have a comment?
Of course.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Diana DaCosta, 12 Seymour Street, Caldwell. So I have a question. I'm assuming, so it started off on like a high note, this meeting. But my question is, the decisions with curriculum and all these things that are happening are not done by one individual. We have a central office administration, we keep hearing this. So I'm wondering, can the people that make these decisions, are they available to be at the meeting and address these concerns? Because we're hearing it through one voice, and maybe they can add some sort of clarity, because what I just heard was, I don't even know why this is happening, but I'd like to know more from the people making those decisions, because I know it's just not one person. So what is the plan as a board to have these people, our assistant superintendent, our directors, K-5, 6-12, where are they, because I know they're part of the decision process, where can they be available to the community?
The Board of Education meeting is a question and answer, so they really wouldn't answer questions necessarily at the podium. If there are specific questions from parents or teachers, that's typically asked outside of a Board of Education meeting. So if we could schedule a question and answer time for parents to ask questions, we could do that. But calling them to the podium isn't the process that's established yet. It's for me to respond to those questions. So if those questions are directed at me, if I can't answer them at a meeting, then I would get back to you after the meeting if I had to talk to them. But if we want to do other avenues to make that happen, we can make arrangements for that. I'll discuss that with them tomorrow, and I'll see if we can make arrangements for those.
Thank you.
If that's helpful.
Are there any further questions from the public? If not, Ms. Getty?
Oh, thank you. So our mock trial team over at JCHS, that's under the direction of Evan McLaughlin, is moving on to the quarterfinals tomorrow evening. So I wanted to congratulate them and wish them well tomorrow night, and thank them for all their hard work, because it's a lot of work that goes into it, and just wanted to say, go JCHS. Thanks.
Okay, with no further questions, we will be moving back into executive session. I'm going to ask for a motion to do such.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Of course.
Excellent. So a motion has been made by Ms. Grosso and seconded by Mrs. Getty. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education shall now enter executive session. Brian, can you take a vote, please?
All in favor, ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you for coming out, everybody.
Wait.